The heavy velvet curtains, faded from decades of use, drew back slowly, revealing a stage that hadn't been touched by time, only by darkness. The old theater stood at the edge of town, a relic of a forgotten era. For years, the doors had been locked, the marquee dim, and the once grand entrance now a gathering place for dust and cobwebs. But something drew Anna there, a feeling she couldn't shake. It was as if the theater whispered her name, calling her into its shadowed depths. Anna was a young actress, her career just beginning to bloom, but the roles were always the same, flat, uninspired, lifeless. She craved a challenge, something that would set her apart, something that would make her feel. When she saw the flyer advertising auditions at the Crescent Theater, she felt an odd compulsion to attend. The flyer was old, the paper yellowed and brittle, but the words seemed to leap off the page. Auditions for the final curtain. Only those truly dedicated need apply. The audition was strange from the start. The theater's interior was surprisingly well preserved, the seats upholstered in rich red fabric, the chandeliers glittering like jewels. But the atmosphere was heavy, as if the air itself was watching, waiting. The director, a gaunt man named Mr. Graves, greeted her with an unsettling smile. "Anna, welcome. We've been expecting you," he said, his voice low and smooth like silk sliding over ice. His eyes, dark and deep, seemed to pierce right through her. "This role is perfect for you." Anna hesitated. "But I haven't even auditioned yet." Mr. Graves waved his hand dismissively. "We already know you're the one." Something in his tone made her skin prickle, but Anna was too intrigued to back out. She had come here for a challenge, and she was determined to take it on. The rehearsals began the next day. The script was unlike anything Anna had ever read. It was intense, raw, and disturbingly real. The lines blurred between the script and reality, the emotions it drew out of her more potent than anything she had ever felt on stage. Her co-stars were an odd bunch, each with a haunted look in their eyes. There was Paul, the handsome but brooding lead actor, who seemed perpetually lost in thought, and Lily, the beautiful yet melancholic actress whose smile never quite reached her eyes. The play was about a group of people trapped in a theater, forced to relive their darkest moments over and over until they found a way to escape. As rehearsals continued, strange things began to happen. Anna found herself losing track of time, often leaving the theater late at night, only to find that hours had passed in what felt like minutes. She started having vivid nightmares where she was on stage but couldn't remember her lines, the audience's faces twisted in shadows. And there was always that feeling that the theater was alive, watching her every move. One evening, after an especially grueling rehearsal, Anna decided to explore the theater. She wandered through the labyrinth of backstage corridors, her footsteps echoing eerily in the empty space. She found herself drawn to a small hidden door she hadn't noticed before. It creaked open to reveal a narrow staircase leading down into the darkness. Compelled by a force she couldn't resist, Anna descended the stairs. The air grew colder with each step, and she could hear a faint, rhythmic sound, like the beating of a heart. At the bottom of the stairs was a small, dimly lit room. In the center stood an ancient stage, surrounded by rows of empty seats. But these seats were different. Each one had a nameplate, and Anna's blood ran cold when she saw her own name engraved on one. Her heart pounded in her chest as she looked around, noticing other nameplates. Paul, Lily, even Mr. Graves. She backed away, only to bump into something solid. She turned to find Mr. Graves standing behind her, his smile now a menacing grin. "The final act is about to begin, Anna," he whispered. "This theater has a history, one built on the souls of those who have performed here. You see, the Crescent Theater doesn't just put on shows, it consumes them." Anna stumbled back, her mind racing. "What do you mean?" "Every actor who has ever performed here has become part of the theater," Mr. Graves explained, his voice dripping with malice. "Their pain, their fear, their passion, it all feeds the theater, keeps it alive. And now it's your turn." Before she could react, the room began to spin, the shadows stretching and twisting around her. She felt herself being pulled toward the stage, her feet moving against her will. The walls echoed with the sound of applause, but it was cold, mocking. Anna found herself standing center stage, the lights blinding her. Paul and Lily appeared beside her, their faces devoid of emotion, their eyes hollow. The script was in her hand, but the words were no longer just lines. They were her deepest fears, her darkest secrets. As she spoke, the theater seemed to come alive, the walls pulsating with energy, the air thick with a suffocating presence. She tried to stop, to tear herself away, but the script compelled her forward, forcing her to relive every painful memory, every moment of doubt and despair. The audience, now visible in the dim light, was a sea of ghostly faces, their eyes fixed on her, feeding off her torment. She realized with horror that they were the souls of those who had performed here before, trapped forever in an endless cycle of pain. The final line echoed in the theater, and the curtains began to close. Anna's breath caught in her throat as she saw Mr. Graves in the audience, applauding slowly. "Bravo, Anna, bravo." The curtains fell, and the theater went silent. The next day, the Crescent Theater was quiet once again, its doors locked, the marquee dim. But if you listen closely, you can still hear the echoes of applause, and sometimes, just sometimes, the sound of a voice, trapped in an endless loop, repeating the final lines of a play that will never end.